Yeah, what is good, everybody? I hope you all made some good money today. CPI was a little interesting, nothing much really happened, but I do think things are setting up for something to happen, so make sure to watch this whole video through. There are a lot of opportunities that I came across that should be some big money makers over the coming days, coming weeks, however fast the market wants to play this move out. So we're just going to get into it. Make sure to show the video some love, give it a like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So to start off, oil. Oil here is really putting up a fight here, so looking at the macro, it's testing a pretty big trend line here. Um, we rode this entire move up. We shorted it. We got out a little early, but um, we went long down here. We got out of that a little early too. So regardless of that, from a macro standpoint, it could really make a massive move here. Um, so on the weekly here, this momentum it's been falling for a year straight basically. And you're starting to see this momentum to turn here. It's starting to curl, it's starting to bottom. So, in the bigger picture, oil could really make some disgusting moves. But for the short term, this is very unsustainable. Um, you know, the hourly time frames, the MACD starting to curl down, the RSI starting to curl down. It's underneath this support, or I guess resistance that was like tested as support. This just isn't sustainable. So I am looking for this to move down a little bit, at least to 76, because if it holds, it could, or 76.80ish. If it holds this, if this is the third wave, it has to hold above wave 1 for this to be intact, but I just don't think I don't know, we'll have to see. It's still trading in this flag, this channel, so could also break to the downside, but for now, we're looking for a little, kind of a breath, I guess. It doesn't work like this. You can't just, keep running up, but the big thing to watch here, that big trend line, that could really create a shift here in oil if it decides to break that. So make sure to watch that major trend line here. If it breaks it, it could really go on a tear here. So natural gas, we were looking for that pullback here. That's what we got. Kind of down into this liquid region right here, as you can see. I pointed this out last night. It's kind of holding here, but it doesn't have to hold here because I can't really count 5 waves up in this structure. All I can see is in ABC. So as of now, this is still sort of a sideways corrective structure. So you could come back and test the bottom region of this range down here. And I would really like to see that because I do think natural gas has a lot of room to move up. Yesterday we went long, or I believe maybe the night before. I forget what it was. Yeah, it was yesterday in the morning, and we made about 2,000 on this move alone. We didn't even hold to the top, so that was some nice gains. Join the Discord if you want to see that for yourself. Let me make my picture smaller. Hopefully it lets me. So, yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. So, I would like to see it bottom around here. We hit my target I've been waiting for 2 weeks to get hit, and we're here. So I'm looking for a bottoming process. This is quite the sell-off, so it's not just going to do some kind of V-shaped recovery. There's going to be resistance just all around this region, so it's going to be a process. We'll see where it is tomorrow. I would like to see a little lower, but I want it to hold too. So not too much to say, just looking for it to hold in that lower region. DXY. So I said it should hold up, or this is the bottom until it breaks this trend line. So it did some wild stuff here. Shot underneath, shot back above, shot underneath, shot back above, and then came down again. So DXY, it's not really being helpful to me to kind of give me any information on what I want from the markets or what I'm looking for. But right now it's at this support. That's a pretty steep support, so I would think this one holds, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But that is probably going to be a very strong support, and I have a bearish bias on the markets. You'll see why I have a lot of reasons. So make sure to watch through this whole thing. You're gonna want to see all the reasons I have. So DXY, this is the trend line to watch for now. Apple, really coming back up to that trend line we've been looking for to get tested. Back down here, we were like, this should reverse. There's divergences. It's in this kind of like wedge channel shape that broke out, and ultimately we're coming back up to test a big line here. So around 135ish. That should be a pretty hard area to break. We'll see what happens if it can really touch that area. I wouldn't expect it to get broken on the first try because we've kind of moved all the way up into it without really any consolidation, sideways movement, relief. So it'll be hard to break if we get up to 135, but we'll just have to watch that level. Tesla, still having difficulty around that 125 level we've been talking about for a long time. Once it breaks it, could move right up to test this supply zone at 140. You're going to see a lot of sellers up here. There's going to be a lot of sellers up here just waiting to sell. So if it gets past this region, watch these trend lines. It's testing this one. It got 2 more resistances to test. This is going to be a big one too. This trend line right here, which we broke. So that's going to be a tough trend line to break. We'll see what happens if we can get over to that line some point in the next few weeks. Amazon still breaking out. That's what we've been talking about as well. Been bullish on Amazon, saying it's getting ready for a reversal here, and it finally broke out. It might need to come back and back test this line, back test this support as well. But there's some good upside left. The daily has been on quite the move here, so we'll see what it wants to do tomorrow. But it's been breaking out like we've expected, so you just kind of gotta be. This isn't really a move you want to chase, just because it's moved up a pretty good amount already. So Amazon might want to cool off a little bit, but ultimately it's out of this channel and could start moving up to those gaps, which are acting as an incentive to get to. So here are the opportunities I've been talking about. So this one, I said, this is when we went long on in the Discord, and it did this stop hunt here, which is really unfortunate. Stopped out all the people who got in at this bottom, but it finally got to my targets, which were 770 and 810, and it blasted through them. So that's what we were talking about. I said it's probably going to be a quick move up if we break this, because a lot of people are shorting in this region because it's just so consistent with rejecting. So all of these people are basically accumulating short positions right at this level, and then once it breaks, they have to close all those positions. Some switch sides, so that just kind of sparks this move up to the upside, and that's how it works to the downside as well. You keep testing a support, people are accumulating long positions, and then it ultimately breaks through, and everyone flips sides, everyone sells the long positions, and that just kind of adds to that fuel to the downside move. So it's at this target, it's at the top of the range, so if it continues to respect this range, it's going to be time for Lab D to move up. Now, this is a bear ETF, and the bear ETFs, they're a little difficult to chart because they have what's called there's leverage decay, or I forget what the term is. It's kind of like options, but the way that leverage bear ETFs work is there's this leverage, and that leverage decays over time, which that affects the price and brings it down over time, like the VIX. So kind of works the same with the VIX, or not the VIX, those short ETFs for the NASDAQ and SPY, like SQQQ, XPXS. So that's what you're kind of seeing on Lab D, but technically, if this is at the top of the range, it would be Lab D's turn to run up. It's a little hard to consider since it broke such an important level from the past, but big thing to watch is XBI, that's the biotech ETF, that Lab U and Lab D move off of. So it's really ripping. It's about to fill this gap. It's about to hit this pretty relevant resistance, really overbought. So I would expect this to turn down soon, and you could see an up move on Lab D soon. So that's what we're really watching in the Discord going into tomorrow and Tuesday. So SOXS, well, more so what I'm looking for on these is I'm looking at the ETFs, so I can see the wave structures better on those, specifically SOXL. So you zoom in here, and you can really see this clear wave structure. 5 waves up. What happens after 5 waves? You cool off, you get a move down or a move up depending on what direction that wave structure is in. But that would be targeting 1090, 1020, 1040ish, and that would kind of equate to the same measured move on a SOXS. And if it gets up to here, that's 38% move. So, these leverage ETFs, if you know how to trade them, you can make so much money. Just even from this support, not even the bottom up to here, 25%. And from this bottom of the range, that's 30-40%. So if you can figure these out, really hone in on them, you can make some serious money. So I have this on watch as well. The only somewhat of a concern I have is that it broke below that big support. So, um, something to just be considering. That line got broken, but the thing with those bear ETFs, bear leverage ETFs, they it's you kind of have to give it some leeway when it breaks these sort of supports, because it just has this decay over time where it only goes down basically with those I guess those temporary those bounces that happen every now and then. But overall, they really just kind of go down. So you don't want to hold these for too long because of that decay. But yeah, SOXX, you could see a bounce. It's just a little scary that it's broken that line. But we'll see. You would want to see an immediate reaction with a pretty powerful bounce to reclaim that trend line. So we'll be watching it. It's looking a little scary with that trend line. But on to the VIX, we finally fill that gap I've been talking about. I said there's a lot more incentive to move down than up to fill that gap, and that's what we got. So we're still not past the apex. You could easily see it tweeze your bottom, shoot right back up above it. It doesn't really matter until you pass this apex right here that you really know the true breakout, because that's what I've been seeing in the markets a lot lately. It does these fake breakouts, massive tweezer tops, tweezer bottoms, to fake out people and trap a lot of people. But it's a big level here. If it doesn't hold this region, there's some downside we could see. So definitely watching this region to hold right here. If it doesn't, you can definitely it could keep cascading down. So be watching this level here. Watch for that tweezer bottom. Really matters with that apex, which is early on next week. So VIX, we'll see if it does that tweezer bottom, but it doesn't have to. On to SPY. There are so many reasons we should be topping here, at least a temporary top. So first off, we're going to start from kind of a bigger picture. So this volume gap is something that's been relevant for the entire past year. Every time you go into it, you shoot right through it. There's no stopping. It's a very illiquid region. So when you enter it, you're going to go to the next zone where there's people waiting to trade. And there's not really anyone trading it within it. It either squeezes through it or sells off through it. So right now we're testing the bottom of it after a major move up. And this move, picture this. Do you really think we're just going to squeeze up through it? Because if we go into this region, we can't just, slowly go through it. It's going to be, you basically have to go straight up through it. So think to yourself, can we do that? Personally, I don't think so. That would be quite the shocker to me. You would definitely need a catalyst for it, and we don't really have any catalysts. So, that's one reason you're at the bottom of a volume gap after a massive move. So we're gonna look at the RSI, look for those divergences. So starting on the 2 hour, the 2 hour is sort of in a topping process. We're gonna look at ES as well. So it's better to just be able to get clues from multiple things and not just one. So MACD on the 1 hour, you got a divergent, RSI is crossing over as well. 30-minute, you got some nasty divergences here. And you zoom in here, you got a wedge with this 5-wave structure. Now this structure is really hard to kind of interpret just because of this region where it was just a lot of up and down, sideways in a range channel sort of thing. So it's hard to identify any waves in this region, but this is possibly the count here. And to really confirm this wedge structure, in wedges, the first wave is the longest, the third wave is the second longest, and the last wave is the shortest. And that's what you have here. So this is pretty good incentive to stop right where it is right now so that it stays shorter than this wave. But if you remember, you go look at my thumbnails. This was my target. I said when we break out, we're either going to go to 366 or we're going to go to 396, and we moved to 396. So this is a huge supply zone. You're at the bottom of a bigger volume gap. You're in a wedge. You have 5 waves up, potentially 5 waves up. Had to deal with my dog for a second. You got 5 waves up here. You're in a wedge. We're going to move on. Actually, one more thing on SPY. We're going to look at the sequence counts. So starting on the 1 hour, you're extending past a 9 count. You can see that. You go on to the 2 hour, 9 count. 4-hour non-count. So it's getting seriously overextended here. We move on to ES. This is a very, very clear wedge here. Now it's hard to verify with that wedge structure with the length of the waves, but you can clearly see just the general structure of it. So starting on the 30-minute, these are disgusting divergences. Like, these are massive. So 30-minute, huge divergences. 1 hour, huge divergences. 2 hour, huge divergences. Crossing down, RSI's crossing down. 4 hour is starting to top here. As you can see, the momentum slowing. The histogram, we'll also take a look at the volume. The volume might be more useful to see on SPY, yeah. So we'll look at the volume on SPY. But you can see here, it's really topping, and there's so many reasons for it to top here. You got that shorter term supply zone right here, which was that target. You had this huge volume gap, which if you want to get through it, you have to go straight through it. You can't just like drift within it, like you can see here. This was quite the there were a lot of short positions, but here you were just kind of drifting within this, and you can see you went into it and you came right back through it. Went into it, came right back underneath. You had to go through the whole thing in one go, and you can really see that. So I just don't think it's sustainable to be able to push to 410 without any relief. You have potentially, it's hard to know what the wave count in this structure is, but if this is the count, we're going to reverse as soon as tomorrow or Tuesday. Market's closed on Monday, so I may consider shorting here in futures. Maybe we get some kind of gap down, but you could see some sort of trap. You come under here, test this again, maybe even break above it, and then break down, but we can't keep going. That's not how it works. It's just not going to do it. That's not how it works. So you have to look where it's going to bottom, find support where the buyers are going to be, because this won't last forever. I would not chase this move. It's not smart. All we've done is move up. We have divergences. Before I forget, the volume. My prediction, without really knowing what the volume looks like, it's probably going to be descending. So there's not really too much to work with here, but you can kind of see the volume isn't picking up as we're moving up. It's not. When you get these kind of moves up, you want to see volume really validating that move. People are buying into it. Now this is more just of a short squeeze, short position covering. It's not organic growth, and with short squeezes, you have to return to the mean reversion. If you want to go higher, it has to be through organic growth. It can't just be this unsustainable short covering. That's not how it works. So I'm not very bullish up here. In my last video, I said I think there might be a little more upside, but I think it's time to correct soon. So we got a little bit more upside. 400, that's another big reason. That's a huge psychological level. You also had a major trend line here. Let me take this off. So all I'm doing is listing like an insane amount of reasons for us to top here. So you just tested this today here. Let me take this off so you can see it. We just tested that line, pretty much like right to the cent. So I really don't know how many more reasons you need. You just filled a gap here. That was pretty high incentive to get filled. So I don't know how many more reasons you need, but it looks primed to drop. So the big levels to be watching, if we come back down to this volume gap, going straight through this, that's 386, 383-ish. And it's not going to be easy to break underneath this region. There's definitely going to be a fight here if it gets back down into that region. So SPY, I think I'm looking to short this relatively soon. It's coming to an end. You can't just keep going up. That's not how it works. So if we start moving up into that volume gap, I might be waiting for 410, but ultimately this move is coming to an end. It can break that big trend line, which honestly, that's what I've kind of been thinking for a few months now, that at some point we're going to break this, and we're probably going to move to that 440, 430 region. It's very possible. This is that structure I've been showing you guys for like several months now. A massive ABC corrective move. So I really don't have too much to say. I'm kind of showing you my bias, showing you all the reasons why we probably can't go higher without a pullback. We'll just see how the markets go tomorrow, that's when we'll leave this video. Make sure to share the video some love if you watch the whole thing through. Give it a like and subscribe, and peace out, guys.